Hey folks, Real Honesty with Jar Midland. I'm Jar Midland's Rapid Fire episode 26, where Talking Smack is canceled. That's a little disappointing. I enjoyed the banter that Renee and Daniel Bryan had, and that SmackDown talents especially were allowed to go out there and speak their mind. I haven't been able to watch it as much. It was a good show. I think WWE, this is what it is. Part of it's cutting costs. Even though they're making money, I think part of it's cutting costs. I think also maybe they're realizing that since they have 205 Live, people aren't tuning into Talking Smack as much. Well, people also aren't tuning in to 205 Live a bunch, even though I enjoy it. Turns out a lot of people really aren't watching it, which is also disappointing. It could be a number of things. It could be just viewership numbers. It could be just because Vince wants to say, because fuck you, that's why. It could be because WWE's tired of Daniel Bryan speaking his mind a whole bunch. Daniel Bryan, though, has a point. I mean, he wants to help with the product. He also wants to leave the company. But it's like, what are they going to do? Fire him? I mean, they're not going to fire him. He's still got a contract through, I think till September 2018 or something like that. Which, please don't leave, Brian. Please don't leave. But anyway, that's another thing. I'm disappointed that Talking Smack is canceled, but you know what? Honestly, I wasn't able to watch it as much. I feel bad for the fans that did watch it. And it was nice, a nice little refresher, and, you know, people able to have fun banter and everything, but I'm not going to miss it. They need to cancel Raw Talk also, because Raw certainly doesn't need to be longer. I think they're going to Talking Smack right after the SmackDown pay-per-views. And maybe the different brand, you know, the brand, you know, or the brand, like, you know, co-brand pay-per-views, like maybe like SummerSlam, which I think they'd be better off having that than Raw Talk, but realistically, I'm not going to miss it as much. And they also canceled Unfiltered with Renee Young, which is news to me because I didn't even know they were doing new episodes of that. I've seen a few. I like Renee Young well enough. I don't necessarily get the hate for her. There are a few people I know, and one person in particular that I talk to that doesn't care for her. I'm not going to call them out by name, but them and I have an agreement, and we just have our banter, and they don't like her for whatever reason. That's fine. There are people I don't like that other people like, and that's great. We can all like and dislike who we want. But, I mean, I don't know if it's a slight against Renee Young. I mean, it is kind of weird that they split up Renee and Dean right after they got married during the Superstar shakeup, and now all of a sudden this is happening. Well, if you're trying to get Renee Young to leave, this would be a good way to do it, because if you limit her on TV time, I mean, what's she going to do? Be a backstage interviewer at, on SmackDown? I mean, I think Dasha's kind of taken over that stuff, which is sad because I do enjoy Renee Young's work, but this is all speculation. It could just be cutting costs. It could be a whole bunch of reasons. That's really what it could be. Honestly, they also need to cancel, they need to cut down the pre-shows, the pay-per-view pre-shows to like a half hour. Just have hype stuff, have a match. Because we already see these hype packages during Raw and during SmackDown, whichever one it is. Just have a half-hour pre-show. 1 hour, you know, if you want to do 2 hours for SummerSlam, 2 hours for Mania, fine. But do 1 hour for the Rumble, 1 hour for Survivor Series. Just cut down these pre-shows. They really need to do stuff like that. And just, honestly, it reeks, it doesn't reek of desperation. It's just odd that they would cancel something if something was decently popular. It's just odd that they would get rid of it, but maybe they are finally like, well, hey, we don't want SmackDown to keep outshining Raw, even though, honestly, Raw this year, especially since Mania, has been, you know, maybe not equal to SmackDown every week, but Raw at times has been better than SmackDown, overall, and a lot of that has to do with Jinder being champion, which I'll get to during my Battleground predictions with my friend Chris. I'll talk about that another time, but I'm a little disappointed they canceled it, but oh well. And then, let's see, it's like, oh yeah, no, something I saw on, you know, Impact Wrestling's YouTube channel, the whole thing that they're trying to do with Alberto El Patron and LAX, it's like LAX tries to recruit him and he turns him down. They're trying to make El Patron a babyface. That is adorable. It's not going to work. Here's the thing. El Patron, as a wrestler, works better as a heel. He just always has. Now, yes, I cut a scathing rant about the guy, about that in the Page situation, him and Page, that situation, and I don't apologize for anything I said, If it turns out that any of that is false, that any of the stuff that the charges are dropped and it was all a misunderstanding or it was all this or whatever, then okay, then I'll issue an apology then. But for now, I'm not apologizing for what I said. Because the guy does generally seem kind of like a shit person from accounts of what I've heard from people who have met him, friends of mine who are not necessarily mean. Oh well, another thing though. He's better as a heel. I don't know why they're trying to push him as a babyface, especially now. Now, granted, they taped this stuff before this whole thing came to light. The airport incident and the audio, which taken as it is, doesn't paint either of them really in a good light, honestly. It doesn't paint Paige in a good light, doesn't paint El Patron in a good light at all. And I'm just going to say that. I mean, I'm not victim blaming. I'm not going feminist here. I'm not doing any of that stuff. It's just not a good look for either of them. And hopefully this whole thing gets ironed out. Hopefully they can get the help they need. Honestly, that's really what I hope, is that they both can get the help they need, especially Paige. Because I don't know, it seems like Paige might be a little bit more damaged, but who knows. With El Patron, he's not a good face. He's just not. He was a good face in Lucha Underground for that brief time he was there. He was actually great as a face. Because it seemed more like he could be himself there. In Impact, it seems like he can be more of himself, but he's just better as a heel. There's a reason why his face turns in WWE didn't work. He's better outside of WWE, obviously. And I'm not turning this into a WWE, praising thing, because they dropped the ball with him as much as, especially the second time, as he dropped the ball by going back there except to get paid. Now I want to get into the whole thing with Global Force and, Anthem Sports. And I want to talk about something that Shane Helms said. It was an interview that Shane Helms did, and it was with Conan, I believe, on Conan's podcast, and I heard it. Somebody sent me the clip. And it was something about, he left. I think they couldn't come to an agreement and this kind of stuff because he was an agent. I don't think he was wrestling as much, and if he was, it was very sporadically. But he was an agent. Him and Al Snow recently got released, or asked for their release, whichever you want to believe. But Shane Helms even said that the deals that the contracts that Anthem Sports are offering, a lot of the new people are taking them, but they're for low money. They get a lot of they get a good percentage of their indie bookings. They can dictate what indie bookings they take, and just, if any of that is true, Anthem is just proving to not necessarily be the best. Now, they wouldn't be the first company to do something like this, because I'm sure WWE does it with the UK talents. And, so I don't want to make it seem like I'm bashing Impact, Global Force Wrestling, whatever it is. I'm not bashing them exclusively, because WWE's done stuff like this too. And I just wish that Anthem was running things a little better. I mean, hopefully they can get back out to tour and draw crowds, and hopefully they can get their pay-per-views on the road and maybe get out of the Impact Zone, because that place is a wasteland. Hopefully the roster can succeed. Though I don't know, with all this stuff going on with El Patron, I mean, he's left in the footage, because they already taped the stuff. He's been suspended. My guess is he's going to be reinstated right around the time the new tapings start. Jeff Jarrett is not looking good here. Jeff Jarrett is not looking good at all. And that leads me to, I'm sorry, just Jeff Jarrett, for a guy that was a mid-card guy at best. And that's really what Jeff Jarrett was. Mid-card guy at best. I sympathize with the guy that he lost his previous wife, Jill, to cancer. That's a terrible thing, and I felt for Jeff, and I still do. That's a terrible thing to watch a loved one, the mother of your children, go through. Okay? So, that aspect, I'm not gonna bash Jeff at all for that. Him and Karen are together, the ways they got together, and him lying to Dixie at the time, years and years ago. I mean, they've been married for years, so whatever. Not exactly good. But Jeff Jarrett, he was a mid-card champion in WWE. Then he was a mid-card champion in WCW his first time around. Mid-card champion in WWE. He a three-time world champion in WCW during the Vince Russo era, because Vince Russo had such a raging hard-on for JEFF. I mean, seriously, just I don't know. Maybe Vince Russo liked guitars being broken. It was a swerve, bro. That's probably why he liked it. I just never understood why Jeff Jarrett was made world champion. And then, when Impact starts, when it's NWA TNA back in the day, he becomes champion November of 2002, I think. Let's see. Shamrock wins the first show. Truth beats him sometime in August. And then, Truth loses this sometime in November. And Jarrett was like a multi-time NWA and TNA tag champ, I think he was a TNA tag champ at one point. I know he's a multi-time NWA champion, TNA champion. He didn't really win the title that much, especially after all that stuff happened with his, late wife Jill. Because he was off TV a lot. I mean, he wrestled only a few matches. Like after that whole thing at Slammiversary, he only wrestled a couple matches since. Or, before that interview, and then once she passed away, I don't think he was on TV or in the ring until Bound for Glory 2008. But just the whole thing is that guy was a mid-card talent at best, and he really seems slimy. I mean, that's just the thing about Jeff Jarrett. He really seems slimy in all this. He is trying to do the whole good old boy thing, and bringing back Dutch Mantel isn't necessarily a problem, because Dutch seems to have a good mind for the business. I don't know what the hell he sees in Bruce Pritchard. I just don't. I just don't. It's like anytime I see Bruce Pritchard, I just feel like punching something repeatedly. And I don't know what it is necessarily, but the guy comes across as a disingenuous jackass. He just does. And it's like somebody who was never any good in the business Brother Love was a terrible character. I mean, it got heat, which, that was easy to do because Bruce was easy to dislike. The disgusting fuck that he is. And I know that him and Jim Cornette are friends, and they've done interviews and stuff like that. And Bruce Pritchard isn't even on my most hated list if I were to include people that were non-wrestlers. But Bruce I just never understood how he kept getting work. Because anytime he's on TV, he doesn't seem to understand what he's doing. And maybe it's age, I don't know. Maybe it's the fact that Impact Creative isn't all that good. I don't know. Or GWF Creative. And sorry, at TNA Creative, GWF Creative. I'm not knocking you. I'm knocking the actual creative because you guys at TNA Creative on Twitter could actually book the show better. I want to make it clear that I want Impact to succeed. I bought Slammiversary. I didn't stream it. I paid my $40. Watching my best friend, and me and my friends all sat in on the review and everything and did that, and we're fair to the show. The show didn't really pop to me, but the talents all gave some good efforts. I was hoping that would be a launching pad for the show, or for the brand. Now it's only a couple weeks since then. I'm not even saying like Impact can't succeed, but this thing with El Patron and not stripping and firing him. Like, maybe they're just waiting until these tapings run out. Maybe they're waiting until later in the month. And they're going to strip him and fire him. And if they do that, then bravo. Because apparently half the people want to keep him, half the people want to get rid of him. The half that want to get rid of him, whether he's guilty or not, the whole thing is it's guilt by association. And he has taken so many shots at WWE, Jarrett himself has taken shots at WWE. Jarrett was lucky to get the $300,000 payout that he got to work No Mercy against China in that terrible match where Jeff gave no goddamn effort. And granted, his contract was up, so he didn't technically have to give that. And he did manage to extort money from Vince, which kudos to Jeff. Hopefully you were able to break some more guitars because you didn't draw any dimes. I think Mike Graham said that best. It was the rise and fall of WCW. That decent documentary until the second half. Said he must have broke 6,000 guitars. Never drew a dime. I think Jeff Jarrett might actually go on my worst list now. He wasn't on my least favorite wrestlers list. Because if you've seen one Jeff Jarrett match, you've seen them all. And it's not that Jeff wasn't a decent worker. But he's slow. He's showing more and more that he couldn't get Global Force Wrestling going. They had all those tapings that never aired, or at least never aired in the U.S. I don't know if they aired in international markets. I don't know all that stuff. But that never worked, which is really sad given the talent that they had. And Scott Steiner. And sorry, I love Scott Steiner, but that guy's about 10 years past his prime. At least 5 years. Good thing he's still alive after that whole incident in Puerto Rico where I think he busted trachea or something like that and he nearly died. So good on him that he survived. But that match with him teaming with Josh Matthews, besides the golf cart thing, was ridiculous, which get Josh Matthews off of commentary. This is not an Impact bashing session. I want the brand to get better. I want it to be like, and this is the reason why I have a TNA since 2002 shirt here. Because I was an Impact Wrestling fan from about December 2003 on, and I still want the company to succeed, but I can't watch a full show of something that has Josh Matthews on commentary. The guy is probably the worst, long-term, like worst play-by-play guy, whatever, ever. And I'm including guys, I'm including guys at their worst. Sorry, JR now at near 70 is better than Josh Matthews on his best day. But now, the meat and potatoes of the whole thing, and this is where Rapid Fire is kind of going to go off the rails. You check Inquisitor.com, and you can find out. There's an article. I just shared it on my Twitter. My Twitter, at RebornAgain, REBOURNE again. But if you search for Broken Hardy's GWF, there should be some article, or just go to my Twitter page, and you'll see it. But various other fans, Impact Wrestling fans and also fans of the Hardys, have shared what Anthem wanted from the Hardys. Now, I want to take this moment to say first, before I start bashing Anthem, that I laid into WWE for weeks about the fact that they would not let Cody Rhodes have the Rhodes last name. Oh, it's something that we own. Fuck you. Dusty didn't need your ass to get over. That's the one thing about WWE. Dusty didn't need their ass to get over. He went over there for, I think, $500,000, about $750,000. But, really? He can't be Cody Rhodes? He's Cody Rhodes. I don't care if that's his actual last goddamn name. He is Cody Rhodes. And WWE should let him use that name. Because he's his actual son. If he was a cousin, if he was like a nephew, my point is, if he wasn't that close blood related, he's his son. Let him use the damn name. WWE was being really petty, and is still being really petty about that whole damn thing. That is absolutely garbage. But I'm going to go quickly through what Anthem won from the Hardys. And I wrote down the bullet points of the article, but Inquisitor did a great job compiling a very good piece, so I recommend you guys check that out. And I saw that a friend of mine shared it, so I decided to share it and then take a look at it. But an agreement with Impact to get the broken gimmick, basically, they had an agreement to, get the broken gimmick. Rebby remained silent, or she would be fined for, slamming Anthem. She would be fined $1,000 for the first tweet, $5,000 for each tweet that was slamming Anthem. And I don't blame her, or I don't blame them for doing that. As much as I back Rebby on defending her husband here, Rebby's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, don't get me wrong. The whole thing with Awesome Kong is still a sticking point with me. But on this whole thing, I side with Rebby. And I do. Now, I get that Anthem doesn't want to just give up something and get nothing for it. The problem is they can't get money out of this. Oh, let's do DVDs, let's do merchandise. They're somewhere else. A lot of fans seem to be happy that the Hardys left. A lot of Impact Wrestling fans who were tooting the horn of the Hardys now seem happy that they're gone. And that's okay. If they're happy with the roster they had, that's great. I want the roster to succeed. They need some more stars. A lot more. You need to cultivate some new talent and not rely on near 40-year-old world champions. And Lashley might even possibly be stepping away for a bit to focus on MMA. But here's the thing. Rebby should have had that gag order put on her. She should have. While they were funny, I don't understand why in the world she kept doing that. It's like you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. Though Anthem was being pricks about it too. But apparently, after the conference call, Rebby blasts Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett was like, that no agreement was made or whatever. Where I guess it was either a lie, which shock of shocks, Jeff Jarrett told a lie. But Matt said they'd make it nasty if it wasn't settled soon. Truth be told, I don't know if Anthem can win this, but anyway. Matt and Impact had an agreement, but Ed Nordholm, who really strikes me as an old WCW type president. He reminds me of Jim Herd, a guy that has no goddamn idea what he's doing. Nordholm just doesn't seem to understand what he's doing. Because if you piss off enough people, people aren't going to want to go there. And that's the whole thing is, I mean, it's not like this is WWE where WWE can pay more money. Impact's trying to cut costs. And I mean, understandable. They don't want to spend too much money. They aren't drawing fans, paying fans to their shows because they're still at Universal Studios. If they were on the road and they were trying to draw fans, they would have a little more incentive to maybe not piss off the boys. And then Matt was willing to pay 10 to 15 grand for the right to use the broken gimmick in WWE and elsewhere. Because honestly, their WWE run, with or without the broken gimmick, is a year and a half, maybe 2. Honestly, that's really what it is. And GW, this is the main thing as to what I say about it. As to why I'm going to rail against Anthem. Because hashtag fuck that owl. Not that WWE's perfect. Not that Ring of Honor's perfect. Not that PWG's perfect. But even for all WWE's faults, Ring of Honor's faults, PWG, Lucha Underground, they're at least drawing fans to shows they go. And they're at least touring. Lucha Underground touring less so. GWF and Anthem wanted more. They wanted more than the 10, 15 grand. And I kid you not, this is what the article said. So, take it with a grain of salt, but this is the article. 50% of the Hardy's WWE contracts as well. 50% of all the money Jeff Hardy makes from his art, music careers on the side. Who the fuck are you, Anthem, to want that from them? You guys are nothing. You guys are nothing. This whole thing, and I want to show you something. I'm going to show you something here in a minute. Because I got a shirt here, and a display of what you're doing. Neither side wants to go to court. Unfortunately, that's what's going to happen. This whole thing, hey, Anthem, you want to make Impact great? That's what you're doing to Impact. That's what you're doing to the whole thing. Make Impact, make Global Force Wrestling, which was a dead brand anyway. You're turning it into trash. You're shooting yourselves in the foot. You're shooting your talents in the foot. You're making it to where the company can't get any headway with the broken stuff here, but especially with the El Patron situation. Stop being stupid. Because if you guys don't stop being stupid, eventually people are going to leave. And if people leave, who the hell else is going to sign there? Because if you get guys like, Lashley and El Patron, Lashley especially, he's in his early 40s. El Patron, even if they fire him, he could go somewhere else and get work. The whole point is if you don't build with younger talent, if you can't get younger talents to trust you, if you get to where morale gets down low, and I don't know if it is, ratings can stay where they are, ratings can go up or whatever, unless you guys really can get, talents to actually appreciate what you're doing and give them good deals and not take some of their booking and not take some fees for their bookings, which you guys don't deserve, by the way. This is ridiculous. Anthem is proving to actually almost be worse than Dixie. Yeah, Anthem's checks don't bounce, but Anthem's checks seem to be smaller. Now, I hope that I'm wrong about this, but I'm just going to say it. Seriously, that is where this whole make Impact great thing again is going to stay. It's going to stay in the goddamn trash. Now, I'm proud of the shirts I got from Shop TNA, Shop Impact. Don West is a hell of a salesman. I'm happy with these banners. I'm happy to support Impact, support the people that worked hard. But I will tell you this. They better change their tune or they're going to, or these partnerships that they have with other companies, this whole broken gimmick, I don't know if the broken gimmick thing is going to really affect anything. They don't change a thing about the El Patron situation. If it gets worse, they could lose some of these partnerships that they made. So I really hope that Impact Wrestling succeeds. But it seems like Ed Nordholm, it doesn't want, wants to, run it like almost a dictatorship. Jeff Jarrett wants to run it like it's his own playpen. Because I don't actually believe he has the talent's best interests. Karen Jarrett needs to be off TV, and Bruce Pritchard, I don't know what the hell he's doing. But hopefully Anthem doesn't blow this. Because if Anthem blows this, I don't know where Impact goes. Yeah, this rapid fire went on a bit long, but guess what? I hope you guys enjoyed it, and yeah, it was a lengthy rant. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Like, share, subscribe if you would like. Leave in the comments. What do you guys think of this whole thing? This has been Real Honesty with John Ritlin. I'm John Ritlin. Hashtag fuck that